for the session. Okay. All right. So let's start with the. So and see, you can see right and see.
Yes, more perfect. I can.
It's too small. Too small, right? Good. That's good now. Good.
Oh, the reading. Yes.
That's okay.
Yes.
Or you hit more.
Maybe one more. Why not one more?
Yeah. How about you try?
Want me to start reading? Okay. The first turning of the Dharma wheel. During the first week following his enlightenment, the Buddha remained seated beneath the papal, henceforth called the Bodhi tree, the enlightenment tree, experiencing the sublime joy of his perfect liberation. In the second week, he stood and gazed unblinkingly upon the tree in gratitude. He spent the third week walking back and forth next to the tree. With each step, lotus blossoms sprang up to cushion his feet. In the fourth week, he sat in a divinely created jeweled house, contemplating the teachings that later became the
Abhidharma
collection. For the final 3 weeks, the Buddha sat in meditation under 3 different trees. During the 6th week, he was seated under the tree of Machalena, the Naga serpent deity. When a great storm threatened, but the Machalena rose up and spread out his cobra hood to protect the Buddha from the elements. An episode commonly depicted in the Buddha images. At the conclusion of the 7th week, the Buddha considered whether or not to teach the profound truth that he had realized, and a delegation of devas headed by the great god Brahma entreated him to share his liberated insights with them.
Can you summarize?
Going through the different weeks of after the enlightenment, what the Buddha experienced, you see some spiritual spiritual beings coming into the mix. I've never heard of the Linda.
I will show you.
Yeah.
Have you not seen the picture of the Buddha with the cobra over him?
No, it's
You've seen that
before.
before.
Protect them from the elements. I've never heard that one.
We'll show you.
Yes, it's really pretty famous imagery. You see the big cobra over the.
Yeah, I will show you this thing here. Hey, yeah, please, let's sit here. See that here? And actually at the Buddha Gaya, behind, happy always there. Behind yeah. Yeah. Right here. Let's just let's see here. Oh, right here, this one here.
Oh, like the snake and its
the snake. It right behind. I was there before. Right behind the where the Buddha attained enlightenment. What's the name, please?
Helen.
Helen. Yeah, welcome then. Yeah, how was the meditation?
I enjoyed it. You know, it's something I definitely need to practice more.
Oh, really? It's first time you're here?
No, no, I came to the class before,
Mhm.
and then I came here randomly once on a Sunday. I didn't know what I was doing. And, you guys were having a service or whatever, and
Sunday.
I met you and you gave me a book.
You've been here few
I've
times, right?
been back and forth.
This first time you just yeah, actually depend upon the request. We can open another prayer or chanting on Saturday if there many demand. Yeah. Right now we don't have it yet. If some people like, you can ask about, can give the survey or whichever and ask them if they want to come. You can set the time.
Yeah. The Sunday service is in Vietnamese, but we can do the chanting also in English, but we have to have a big enough group of people that want to learn chanting.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they get concerned the conflict in languages, so that's why it's better to separate two groups. So now every Saturday we available.
Yeah.
So
But we all need to learn Vietnamese.
you don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need that. We have plenty of books in English to learn Buddhism. Yeah. So how much you understand about Buddhism? You read any Buddhist book before?
I didn't read that much of it. I honestly have not been, like, I struggle with reading books, but I finally finished a book for the first time in like 14 years.
That's
Oh, really?
So, but I would like to, you know, look it up. Right? He gave me a book. Here.
How about you? Have you read any Buddhist book before?
I took the introduction to Buddhism when I was in college.
Where?
Like
Which
a long time ago.
which year?
At IU.
Are you Bloomington? Oh, you went there. Okay. I'm still teaching at IU Southeast.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm professor with that. Yeah. Anyway, so we just read the part that the cobra or the serpent explained his hope to Cobra the Buddha right after his enlightenment when he was under the rain, and it's right behind. It's right behind the Buddha Gaya. That's right here. I can see. I think I don't know whether they have that video or not. You can see it. All right here. It's a pretty short, 2 minutes. So it's talk about right after Buddha attained enlightenment. So he stood there right for first week, right? And another week that serpent covered his head. Yes, with the respect right here. Here is the yeah. This right behind. It's right behind the Buddha Gaya. I think
When you're referring to the Bodhigaya,
Buddha Gaya where Buddha attained enlightenment. Yeah, they make that statue. They made that statue. Yeah. And Stephen, can you follow? And Stephen?
Yes, more factor. I can.
Yeah. So have you seen this image before?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Right there. That's that Buddha Gaya. Just right behind that. And anyway, that's okay. So you know the great Bodhisattva names Nagarjuna. You know her name?
Yeah.
Probably you don't know. So according to legend, he went down to the ocean, underneath of the ocean, to get the flower of the sutra. According to the legend, it led to the Naga there. All right, so let's go back then. And Stephen, can you read next, please? Yeah.
In one sense, the account of the Enlightenment represents the climax of the Buddha's biography, in that it marks the fulfillment after countless lifetimes of his quest for liberation. However, the Buddha's first act of teaching can be seen as an event of even greater significance, since from this point, the liberation he had achieved became a possibility for the whole of humankind. For some 45 years following his enlightenment, the Buddha was occupied in teaching his insights.
Hmm. Can you summarize, please?
I guess it's just pretty much phrasing that Buddha's accomplishment, his own accomplishment of achieving enlightenment is a great task, but I think they're trying to say that the greatest task is that he was able to share that with all human beings.
So when you took, is that Buddhist class, Buddhist course in Bloomington? Wow. So it's not Buddhist course or this the world religion? Is that Buddhist course? Oh, okay. How was that?
Is it?
A lot of reading? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely new to me, so
Where's that?
it was very new to me.
Oh, okay. So you get some idea already, right? The point number two, like for past, you still remember, right?
A little.
You know about those information yet, or you brand new? Yeah, here and the previous Parshas mentioned that head by a great God Brahma, so they came down to the quest Buddha to teach. So of course it's a system need there, but still that beyond human thinking. Yeah, and in Buddhist view, in Buddhist tradition, most of the time Buddha wait for people to request the teaching so that he could teach. He would not come and teach people on the spot.
Was it you that taught me that they had to request him 3 times?
To show sincerity most of the time.
Yeah.
But some in some occasion he just spoke if it's so important that he would not need to wait for other people to request. So most of the time he will wait for them to request to show the sincerity. Like when you're hungry, if people give you food, you'll be appreciated. When you're thirsty, if people give you water, you appreciate. Otherwise, you don't need that. Yes.
Since there's some new people and for refreshment, can you go through the four noble truths?
We will.
Okay.
This book is pure basic, and it will not be basic, but it will deeper. We will talk about that.
Okay.
And here the Buddhist word liberation. What you understand about liberation? You know, in the West, right? The Western religion, they talk about salvation, right? Actually, this question they asked me so many times about Buddhist view on salvation, but Buddhism focus on liberation. What's the difference?
Salvation is something outside of you, is you would be redeemed or saved by a God or somebody's there to save you. Liberation would be an internal process where you've freed yourself from the bondage of craving.
Can you give one specific example of liberation?
Well, let's say you were a cigarette smoker and then you quit smoking. That first week is really hard. That second week is really hard. But after you get so many months into quitting smoking, so many years, you don't even think about it. You don't even want it. You have no desire. You're completely just free of the bonds and the habit of smoking, right? So in Buddhism, you would be free from the habits of first of all, over recognizing the self. And you would be freed from any sort of craving. So Buddhist liberation, since suffering is caused by craving and attachment. If you internally work yourself to be freed from craving and attachment, you would be enlightened or liberated.
Mm. But someone can come back and ask you, can we attach to our family members, our parents, or sibling, or spouse?
Well, love and attachment are two different things.
Okay.
So yes, you would be you are attached in many ways, but if you were truly liberated, you would be able to recognize the arising and passing of everything, right? So part of the way to be liberated from the bonds here on earth is that you are no longer attached to certain outcomes or having certain things. So of course you could love your family member and you don't want bad to happen to them, but if you're higher up on this liberation scale, when you lose your family member, you have such a deep understanding of the impermanence of everything, right? Everything, there's nothing going to stay here always. So the truly liberated person can let things just come and go without having some sort of like emotional sway, that they understand the nature of it.
Yeah. And still, you
Yes,
understand?
Mopakan.
Can you give some specific example of being liberated mentally, spiritually? Can you give some example of that?
There's a lot of examples, kind of hard for me to explain, but I guess one form is of liberation would be maybe as a person is growing up, you're always afraid of the unknown of what's going on, whether it be, afraid of you are not good enough at your job or at school or whatever. And you just need to accept and understand that whatever capability you're giving forth is good enough and that you're able to move on. And that's, I guess, in a term, one way of once you recognize that, then you know that whatever you're doing is the best that you can do, and that there's no such thing as failure. So because sometimes when a lot of people always strive for the best, and then for example, schooling, some especially most Oriental family where the parents always wants the kids to be like a doctor in engineering or something high up, and put the pressure on the kids so much that when they don't make it, they become also stressful. And of course, a lot of sad story where it was so stressed and they can't handle, they end up committing suicide because they just didn't satisfy too much and they couldn't reach the end goal. And that is kind of the liberation, I guess, that I was trying to explain. So, Mofa, then.
You give some actual example.
I would say, we've all had like a nightmare, right? And when you're having a nightmare, or even if it's not a nightmare, say, any dream really, in a dream, things are always strange and confusing, and you're not really in control of the dream, generally. Buddha, like the word Buddha, I mean, it's a title, not his name. He had a regular man's name before he was the Buddha. Buddha just means awake or awakened one. And to be liberated in Buddhism ultimately, I think, means to be liberated from ignorance and delusion. Because one of the main things that Buddha explained is that, this world that we experience with our senses now, the reason it's all always temporary and always rising and falling, and there's so much suffering involved in it, is because it's not what it seems. Like a lot of, when you hear about Buddhism, you'll often also hear, besides the impermanence, another thing that you'll often hear about is the it's hard for Westerners to understand without more context, or really anyone without more context. But they talk about in Buddhism how there's no self. What that really means is that there's no separate objects, really. There's, one reason why, it's not good to cling to things, be attached to things, is because they're temporary. But another reason why is because nothing that we perceive is exactly what it seems to be. Like, if you are attached to your boyfriend or girlfriend, even if you stay together forever, and that's permanent in that sense, they'll die. That's one thing. But another thing is when your attachment is built on another person or another thing, like a job or anything, it's never what it seems, because that thing is always changing, and that's the impermanence. But it also has its own different reality. Like if it's another person, the way you see that person is your thoughts and perceptions of that person. That person has a different reality. And even like physical objects, like this table, if you get scientific about it, it's not even like what it looks like. It's like atoms and stuff. So anyway, just, our senses confuse us, and our experiences confuse us, and our mind confuses us. So that's why I was saying it's like a dream, how in dreams things are confusing. And sometimes, you'll even have a nightmare. But in Buddhism, it's like, the Buddha wakes up, he's awake, and we can also be awake. And whenever you wake up from a dream, the dream is over usually. But also, even sometimes people do the lucid dreaming, where they're aware inside the dream so they can control it to a certain extent, or at least they're not afraid or disturbed by what's happening in the dream. I suppose that's like whenever you're enlightened and you're still on the earth, and then whenever you are enlightened and you leave the earth, it's like fully waking up. And that's what I think the liberation is. It's like you're free from the, not just attachments, but you're free from the delusions of all the stuff that's not just temporary. Definitely the temporary is a big part of it, but also just, the delusion and the ignorance that it's not, nothing is what it seems. There's something beyond it all. And also just like how in a dream, everything you experience in a dream is in your own mind. To a certain extent, the world is like that too.
Ben, what do you understand about liberation?
The only example I can think of is I used to have a red BMW, and my whole identity was wrapped around it. Like even people in the neighborhood knew me because I had this BMW, and I was like really proud about it. Well, that BMW broke down. It's gone. It's impermanent. And so I was so sad for a long time, and like I didn't, I didn't feel the same way and couldn't get excited about anything. So I had to let it go. It's a car.
You understand some sort of
Yeah,
this?
it makes me think of like codependency,
Mhm.
because like, I was like always in a relationship with someone because I was scared to be alone. And now that I'm like single and I'm finally okay, like it took a long time, like over a year for me to be okay with just being single, being by myself. And sometimes I still, catch myself hanging out with people, and taking away from myself, but at least I can, like, I'm a little more aware of it, so I can actually focus more on me, because I would be so scared. It's mostly just fear of being alone. But it's such a freeing feeling being able to be happy without needing another person to make me happy.
Yes, sometimes we depend on other people too much.
Yeah.
That whichever thing they do will affect to us tremendously, right? But as long as we recognize the only one that we can control is ourselves, we cannot control others, whether our spouse, whether our friends, or whoever. So it's not easy to understand that. How much? Yes.
I was gonna say, I was listening to a interesting lecture earlier today about enlightenment through faith only. But anyways, part of this idea of like Buddhist liberation, right? They say ignorance. The idea of Buddhist ignorance is that you believe that there is this self thing, right? And someone that is liberated or enlightenment truly, and this is kind of a lofty concept if you haven't studied any of it, but understands and lives in non-duality. So they understand that there isn't a separate me and a separate world, that they're able to stabilize in their mind that this and what you perceive as an exterior world is one thing. Which, I mean, that's way oversimplifying it, but the truly liberated person can understand that it's not about themselves. There's not really this self thing to be free, that it's a understanding of what is inside is also outside, what is outside is also inside, that there's really not a delineation of, and that's this ultimate reality that you always hear about is, which I know it takes a while for someone to guide you to really understand that, but that's the core concept, is that the truly freed person can really understand the concept of all is one.
You understand the idea of liberation in Buddhist view? What do you think?
It's tough.
If you don't want to share, that's okay. Yeah, so usually let's say we have orange and apple. Like I love apple, I don't like orange. But somehow at one day I don't have anything except orange. The one day I don't like to eat during the day. But there's no choice, only orange. I have to consume them. So the point I want to say is that sometimes we defer, we have some kind of bias or reference. Oh, I like apple, I don't like orange. But we don't recognize the true nature of those fruit. The true nature is to give us the energy. As long as we know that whether apple or orange, that's okay. That's so simple understanding, right? That's why if we don't have any kind of bias, don't have any kind of judgmental or in whether the food, or the people, or the clothes, the way we wear, and the car, like you say, right? But BMW, Mercedes, or whichever, it's just a means for transportation. If we understand the true nature of the car, true nature of things, we'd be free then. Right? That's so
So you
simple.
wouldn't care if you're driving, if you're really free and just really understand all I need to do is get from here to there. It doesn't matter if you're in a Rolls Royce or if you're in a Ford Focus.
Same, it just works the same way. If they have the true nature of them, whether it's the PC or Mac or so forth, they just serve the function. It's just help us to go through the day. Anyway, so that's the meaning of liberation, that in the practical sense, so that we can be free and we have free choice. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, can you read please?
It is said that the Buddha's first thought was to teach his own two teachers, but they had already died. He then turned to his former student, the 5 ascetics who had lost faith in him when he had turned back from the brink of starvation. The Buddha used his divine eye to determine that they were in fact able to benefit from his instruction, and headed towards Deer Park in Sarnath, a town a few miles from Varanasi, where they were residing. The 5 saw him approaching and resolved to remain seated to show their lack of respect. But as the Buddha got closer, he radiated such a powerful aura of loving kindness that they could not resist venerating. when they used his old name and addressed him familiarly as a friend, the Buddha explained that this form of address was no longer appropriate. He was now the Tathagata, a term reserved for Buddhas, literally one who has gone thus along the path of realization of perfect enlightenment. So, so after the Buddha achieved enlightenment, so he almost starved himself. While he's sitting under this Bodhi tree, he almost starves himself to death. The 5 ascetics that he had been out there, I guess, somewhere, with when he accepted, I guess, the milk rice and then started realizing that the middle way was the path to liberation, not extreme mortification, body. So when he did that and didn't just keep separating himself from the body, the 5 ascetics were like, well, he doesn't really practice because he ate. But when he came back to them and they saw him, like he just had this awakened aura so much that they venerated him, which is, usually prostration.
Sometimes, or most,
They bow down and touch his feet.
Okay.
yeah,
I don't know
some,
what I was thinking.
Yeah. I was thinking that too.
I was like,
Oh my
it's like
gosh.
shooting, but okay, sorry.
Prostration, when you see them bow to the Buddha,
Mhm.
or if you ever see the Tibetan practitioners that you guys practice that too, going up the mountain. But prostrating is where you lay down in reverence.
Now, with the aesthetics, would they have been like Hindu or?
yeah, they follow kind of a couple Hindu.
Hinduism?
Culture. That means they may stand for the whole days, or the whole week, or whole months, or they extend their arms, or they lie down on the nail bed and so forth,
Like-
or on the sand, the hot sand. So the idea is that they want to torture their body due to the suffering that they have, so that they want to extinguish the suffering by torture the body. But of course, that's the wrong idea.
Yeah, by stabilizing, they would torture, they torture their body in order to, like, if their mind is so stable that it's almost like a confirmation that they can move to the next level
Yeah.
or something like that, because they can separate their this
Yeah,
idea of
like in
self from the
karate
body.
class, our sensei would hit us with sticks in our arms and to focus, like sit there and take it,
Yeah.
So,
That's the Buddha's path to the middle way is, he went from being a prince where he had everything, he had everything, and then he tried to live that way, like those they weren't quite Hindus yet, but they were what became Hindus. They the early Vedic religion. But they would have like Kai was saying, the extreme practices where they would like torture themselves to try to find liberation. And Buddha tried that, and he was like, that's not working. And that's when he realized the middle path was to, have a balanced way of approaching the mental and spiritual and physical world.
And so, like, let's say someone, right? They go to graduate school, right? They go to medical school. During those years, they just been called as normal men, no normal names. But after graduation from medical school, so they have the title doctor. You understand that? So from that time on, people call him or her or they as doctor, Doctor this, Doctor A, Doctor B, and C. But that's just the title. But in Buddhism,
So
because of,
the Tathagata is the name that I guess he calls himself once he's awakened, which means gone thus, which my interpretation of that is the Siddhartha is gone, and it's just this awakened being. It's not.
I think it's like he has gone beyond this world.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, he's not here. He's not here.
You mind to read? Everyone first can participate. If you don't mind, that's okay. If
But you're smart.
That's
yeah,
normal.
Yeah.
if yeah,
Studies gathered around the Buddha and began the event characterized as the first turning of the Dharma. In the discourse, he set forth the basic outlines of the truth he had realized under the Bodhi tree. A profound understanding of the nature of reality summarized in the formula known as the Four Noble Truths. He also explained the middle path and the secret of enlightenment, while avoiding the two extremes of sensual indulgence and harmony.
mm. Oh, sorry, I need to go back. Okay, asceticism. Yeah, yeah, that sentence. Yeah, awakening, asceticism.
Asceticism.
Yeah.
So effective was within a week, all of them had become
Arhats,
arhats, worthy ones who have realized
Nirvana. You remember in college the
Oh,
meaning of Nirvana? Remember that or not?
I remember that. Well, I know that word is popular. Yeah.
Now, yeah, there's Nirvana, Zen, iPhone, Nirvana, iPhone, and so forth. that they use that term. Right, Ben, you remember that term? Remember we talked about that, right? Many
Yes.
times. What's mean by Nirvana then?
Nirvana is the state of no birth or death, no clinging.
You know that term? What's mean? What's mean?
Like peace and totality of just being.
Yeah, can you make it short? Nirvana, what's mean?
Yeah, more or less what they said, like when you attain nirvana, there is no more suffering. You understand everything, and because you understand everything, you're at peace with everything. And because you're at peace with everything and you understand everything, you don't have any rebirths back in this world. Nirvana is a state beyond the cycle of birth and death, because in Buddhism, normally your attachments or your karma would cause you to be born again in a better life or a worse life, but nirvana, it's like you're done, you're at peace forever.
Can you make it short?
I just extinguished,
Yeah.
like the person, the self is extinguished. So you still have all the senses and everything that come in, but that you're free of preferences, you're free of attachment.
Okay, this one is easy here. Okay, here, this one here. Can you see?
And that's what causes your
Anand, how you been, Anand?
I'm
Anand?
good. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. So here, go back to this is a basic one, the Four Noble Truths. Here, you understand this one before, right? You understand this one, right? Okay, so life is full of suffering. Here, remember, most of the time people misunderstand, right? They think that Buddhism talk about this kind of substance, and it's so pessimistic. We don't need to do anything. No, all the side of suffering is happiness. So, like the doctor mentioned, okay, I have a stomach ache, I have a headache, so forth. He point out
Mhm.
First, the problem that we have. And the second one is the suffering come from desire. The root of the cause of suffering, desire, want. That's the root. And the suffering stop when desire, wanting stop. And in order to stop those desires and want, we follow the Eightfold Path. Like the pair. When you go to doctor, right? Doctor mention, okay, you have that symptom. The reason why we have a stomach because we may have in spoiled food. That's the root. But probably because we could not control our eating, for example, right? And the doctor could not stop there. If he stopped there, we don't pay him a penny. So he said further, okay, this stomach ache, don't worry, will be gone. That's the third one. The last one, the number 4, if you trust by medicine, go to CVS, go to Walmart, pharmacy, buy the medicine to take. Yeah, if we trust the doctor, we could get the medicine to cool those stomach. So those are the same pattern of this 4 noble truth.
The Eightfold Path is the prescription
Yes.
for the ailment of suffering.
And so many in today's society, it's like if we're struggling with something, if something's ailing us, like from a stomach ache to chest pain to cancer, or even emotional trauma, we drown it out. We try to drown it out. And so I see the 4 noble truths as like the example of a doctor. We're trying to recognize.
You can see this one is so small, too small. Okay. Here. This one is so important. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, right here. The true suffering, physical is spiritual, physical, economic, others. So all kind of suffering, all kind of destruction that we have in our life, right? It's understandable, right? The physical, we sick. Right? When we healthy, it's okay. But one day we sick. Let's say during the COVID-19, right? There's many people was locked in the room, or they so sick that they may lost their life, or we may have lost our lovely one, and so forth. Economy adjustment. When COVID came, a lot of people lost their job. And remember, if everything's going in a cycle, right? Nothing lasts forever. Nothing that go down forever. Nothing go up forever. It's go up and down, up and down. That's the life. And spiritually, yes, sometimes we have some problem with our meditation or with our spiritual path. So those are these
well, also that first noble truth, dukkha, DKKAH, is also frequently translated to unsatisfactoriness. So a lot of times we hear Americans hear suffering and they think of some sort of like extreme case, but it's really this perpetual undercurrent of things are kind of unsatisfactory. Like I need to do more spiritual work. I could feel better. I could, that it's not necessarily, oh, this is horrible. It's just like, well, there's always something that needs to be remedied and fixed.
If we talk a lot about this one, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to the 8. It's better. Yeah, so this is what they call the Eightfold Path, the path how to transform the suffering into happiness. That's what they call here the Noble Eightfold Path here. The wisdom, the ethic, and the let's see, moral obligation. Yeah, this is one here. And Stephen, you can follow, right? Stephen, right here, this one.
Yes,
Can you see?
yes.
Anand, we discussed this one before, Anand. Right? Can you see?
Yeah,
Anand?
yeah.
Oh, that's a good chart.
Yeah,
Can
I
you
can
see?
see it. It's small, but yeah, it's small. I can see it.
Okay, it's better now, right? So
Yeah.
that's the path. That's no the noble eightfold path, the wisdom one. That's the right understand, right thought, ethical conduct, right speech, right action, right livelihood, mental discipline, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Those are and right and let's see here. What is the charge? This yes, Anand, you want to add something?
No, that's okay.
So here is just a lot of information about right understanding. We can probably how about we stop? Get provide this information, we can come back later on.
Those three things for people that are new, when you hear the Buddhist idea of creating merit or a meritorious deed, it's wisdom, ethics, and mental discipline, which would be would wisdom, well, that's pretty, and ethical conduct's pretty clear, and the mental discipline is meditation.
Yeah, I would say that, some of the meditation from earlier, like the focusing on your breath, that's like a concentration meditation, to focus on your breath. And when you're walking, that's like a kind of mindfulness meditation. But there's a bunch of different ones. So they're just like the general categories.
They go hand in hand with each other. We cannot separate them. It's just so there's no, let's say we have to practice right understanding first. No, there's no order. Depend upon how we practice. But they complement each other. For example, mindfulness practice help you to keep your moral conduct properly, because you're mindful. You would not say something that may be offended. And yeah, when you calm your mind enough, you have the wisdom to understand things that the way they are. Yes.
So like there's no like order to that.
No, they support each other. Yeah, but they cannot separate. There's no order. We have to do this first, have to do this second. No, they work together.
So like a wheel.
Yeah, that's why. You say that the wheel. You remember, right? The eight fork, right? You know that one? No, okay. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thanks for reminding. This is one here. The eight wheel right here. The eight wheel here. Yeah, this is the wheel returning. So they connect each other. There's no order. So when you do meditation, it helps us to be mindful of things we're talking, things we're doing. We won't make the mistake. And when we come our mind now, we have some kind of wisdom, right? To see things as the way they are, to understand things. If we have confused mind, we may do something crazily, and we have to pay for the price for that. Yeah, so that's just a general idea. Later on, we can study item by items. Yeah. Let's see. Would you like to? Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I need to stop you because I need to talk briefly about nirvana. In one sense, nirvana has been everlasting peace. Every one of us have that kind of experience, but sometimes we have only in a split second or within a minute. That's all. Most of the time we have all kind of mental fluctuation. One moment we so peaceful, but another moment we so violent. Another moment we so excited and so forth. That's why every one of us had that experience, but we could not develop like them to have everlasting peace.
It takes a whole lot to stabilize it. A whole
Yeah, like for example, when we really focus our mind on an meditation, whichever thing people do, whichever thing people say, we still calm our mind. We still have that kind of stability in our mind. It requires a lot of practice. So So do the arhat. So they have that kind of everlasting peace.
Mm.
Nothing can disturb their mind. No matter people criticize them or praise them and so forth, they still remain at peace. That's what we call everlasting peace. One sense that. Yeah.
Is realizing emptiness, that concept, realizing emptiness,
That's Mahayana.
it is Mahayana,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
Tibetan. Okay.
No,
all right.
that's Mahayana, not Theravada.
Right.
The everlasting peace. That's
Right.
the common
So,
ground.
so if you realize, if you realize emptiness, does
Mhm.
that mean you've stabilized nirvana to a certain
No,
degree? And
no,
it just
that's
means you,
different. That's different idea. A different idea. That's Mahayana one. That's not levels.
okay.
But in the common sense for Nirvana is everlasting peace, no matter what happened out there. Yeah, that's what the worthy one. No one can disturb them. If someone blame, oh, I'm Arhat, test them out. If they still have anger or not, if you still have jealousy or not. If they don't, that's great. Yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah, please. Thank you.
The Buddha's exceptional effectiveness as a teacher is repeatedly emphasized in both canonical sources and later biographies. In part, this can be attributed to the supernormal mental attainments gained during his enlightenment. Equipped with detailed knowledge of his own past lives and with the power to see the past lives of others, the Buddha is said to have had the capacity to teach at level precisely calibrated to the needs and abilities of his hearers, who as a result made remarkably quick progress toward enlightenment. His unique ability to teach in ways appropriate to a diverse enlightenment. This unique, diverse audience, some at the beginning of the path and others on the brink of realization, becomes the basis for the Mahana doctrine called skill in means.
You understand that? Can you summarize?
Was that?
Yeah. Can you understand? Can you summarize?
Yeah. So basically, it said that he can see his past lives into the past lives of others, so he's able to teach people like more. It says he can teach people like more uniquely, so he can help them to learn faster, versus just trying to teach everybody the same way. He can come in and help people individually by looking into their lives. Is what I got out of it.
I'm not seeing it worded skill in means. Is that
That's Mahayana.
right? Does that mean, is that the Lotus Sutra?
It's
Or is
in
that-
general. In general.
Okay, so is skill in mean is still skillful means though, right? Or is it different?
Whichever you explain, this is the same meaning.
Okay.
Let's say for little children, right? You teach, let's say Victor is too young. 4 or 5-year-old boy,
Yeah.
he couldn't understand what's meditation. And mess around, right? So the way we teach him, if he mess around, time out, stand there. So that's the time he calm his mind out. That's a skill in mean. But for the adult, that's definitely we sit in meditation, we sit on the floor, we sit on the chair, and so forth. Or let's say the student, they lazy, they don't want to do homework, and you say, okay, hey, here candy, or after you done with this homework, I give you a cup of ice cream, for example. They love that. They love that. That's why they do homework. That's a skill in mean, right? You understand now?
Mhm.
Instead of scolding them, right? Put them down. We can give them encouragement. Okay, now go ahead. Try your best to do homework. After that, I give you a cup of ice cream. They like it. That's what it's about. But in Theravada, there's no.
They don't
You
know.
have to be a Buddhist monk or nun in order to attain enlightenment.
Right.
That's different story. That's why they was so rigid in that the type of idea. But in Mahayana tradition, there's just many ways to teach people. Yeah. So so you can bring more candy for them. Yeah, he tutor every day from Monday to Thursday.
I'll let Mia bring the candy.
Oh, is that- Mhm. So that's for children, but for adults, yeah, we teach each other in different way. Yeah, so depend upon the teacher. If we know the subject well, whether we teach the mature one or we teach the little one, we still have some special skill to teach.
I was telling people the other day because the one day that I was with the little kids, you know, they were asking me questions like, you know, they were reading like, you know, the book like Eat the Cat or Elmo, and they were like, what does like swiftly mean and stuff like that. And then I go to the table with the older kids and they ask me to explain like racism and atoms and black holes. So it's a big difference.
Anand, you want to share anything? Let's say the skill mean how when you teach your little boy, that somehow it affect you instead of give him direct teaching, but you gives him some flexibility to guide him. You have that type of skill, Anand.
I have only one child, so it's a practice for me on a daily basis. I guess it depends on the age of the child, and the personality of the child, and the ability of the parents to able to even practice. You know, let's say before I learn about Buddhism, I would tend to be on the side of reaction. You know, anything that's not in my way, I would be, you know, hey, why are not you doing that? And I assume that it should be the way or the only way, because all the adults doing it, and my parents told me about it, and so I keep doing it. So I start to realize that it may not be a good idea to do that, and that would be conditioning, and they would be, you know, kids tend to be like to be, you know, like us, we want to be like to be told or like to be sworn at, so we need to be respectful of them and be a friend of them. So there are times I catch myself doing the naughty thing, the not good thing, and I kind of know my emotion gonna happen. So I remember kind of like, okay, just like a gas pedal on the car. I know if I step on it, it's gonna blow. So let's not aware of. Okay, let's sit back, find a way to communicate it or articulate my dissatisfaction, and I'm encouraged in a different way. So I think positive reinforcement is good, but there's also time when you need to be a little firmer. Depends on the age. That's my experience anyway. So that's all. I have only one child, so I could not do more experiments.
And Stephen, you have one girl too, right? One daughter,
Yes,
right? You have to be flexible, otherwise it's not easy to handle her, right?
Yes, motherfucker. And I agree with what Anand just said. Most of this, just like anything else, teaching them, you know, everyone's always say, you know, there's a right way. Well, actually, there's no right way. There's a right way. You just have to adjust and compromise based on the situation. And obviously, as your child is growing up, you know, when they're so young, they're still trying to comprehend. So you cannot expect them to know too much, like in like you know, like old fashioned Chinese and family in the past, to where the father or mother's always head of household, especially the father dictates, you know, it's almost like a dictatorship. It's like Anand said, my way or the highway. And, you know, nowadays it's totally different. You have to gear it, you know, towards their age, how they're able to learn. Some is learning faster, some is slower. So you just have to kind of like put on the brakes and just understand that, and teach them at their level. And then of course be mindfulness is the one important key, you know, for you to be able to teach your kids correctly. So
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. So that's good mean in daily life, and that's applicable in Buddhism. All right, so thank you and comment, and so see you next week then. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
good night, everyone.